Ghana.
Lowassa says the opposition coalition's vote tally put him in the lead and decried what he said was massive rigging by the Electoral Commission.
We feel the Electoral Commission is not running these affairs properly. So we are recommending suspension of the vote exercise or a cancellation.
Preliminary results show John Magufuli, the candidate for the ruling CCM party, is ahead of Lowassa. And although CCM says it will contest in court results from 4 constituencies, it welcomed the presidential results, saying they reflected the will of the people.
When a political party goes into an election, you overpromise your supporters victory, and then when victory does not come about because of maybe some mistakes that you have made as political leaders, it's easy to find excuse in saying that we've been rigged.
Although international observers said Sunday's election was free, fair and credible, the opposition says the poll was marred by irregularities. They want the Electoral Commission to stop forthwith the tallying of results. The Electoral Commission dismissed the opposition's allegations. In Zanzibar, the local Electoral Commission cited gross violations as a reason for cancellation of polls in the islands. On Monday, police fired tear gas to disperse opposition supporters in Zanzibar after the presidential candidate announced himself winner. The semi-autonomous island is always a flashpoint of political tension during elections. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Well, now for an update on Tanzanian elections, we are joined in studio by our foreign editor here at SABC News, Sophie Mokoena. Very good morning to you, Sophie. Thanks for joining us.
Eben.
Sophie, you've just returned from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Just give us a quick view of how you saw the elections that happened there on Sunday, and maybe also the irregularities that are now being called by the opposition there. What do you make of that?
Well, it is indeed a very important election, particularly when you look at the history of Tanzania. This is the election which was hotly contested by both the opposition and the ruling party. You are aware that it's almost 50 years Tanzania has been under the leadership of the Chama Pinduzi, and for the first time Chama Pinduzi is facing this competition. It's because that people are disgruntled, people are complaining that they don't see change, and people want change. The issue of corruption again playing itself in that country, but ironically the very same man, Edward Lowassa, who was the then member of the Chama Pinduzi and the vice president who was not appointed or elected to lead the party, but also to be the presidential candidate because there were allegations of corruptions against him, is now the man or the face of the opposition. And the opposition has been complaining about corruption. This was the main issue during election campaign, but unfortunately he is the very same man. Therefore, there's serious tension in that country.
What about the tensions that always seem to flash up around Zanzibar, who's semi-autonomous? There always seems to be, during election times, unhappiness.
Yes, we visited Zanzibar on Friday last week. We spoke to many people in the markets, around the beach, in the areas where people live. They really want to be independent. They want to secede. But unfortunately, the inland, the government, the main government is saying it cannot be Tanzania, it's one Tanzania. And we anticipated that there will be tension during elections. But the funny thing is that you also have an independent electoral commission in that particular country. And people are very polarized. They believe in this secession. And therefore, the credibility of election there indeed will be in question, because when you speak to the commission, the electoral commission of Zanzibar, not the national one, you can pick up some sentiments around the issue of autonomy. Therefore, we expected that there will be this tension, but also we expected that there will be unhappiness in terms of the outcome of the results.
Now you attended a media briefing of the observers there, and they raised concerns about the country's constitution. They also put some recommendations forward. What were some of these recommendations?
Right now, the opposition leader is saying there must be a recount. In other words, he doesn't accept the process. You don't have a recourse. If the Electoral Commission has pronounced, there's no recourse according to the Constitution. The Constitution was drafted in 1977, so it doesn't really meet the expectation of the country, but also of the region, the SADC region, in terms of protocol on election and good governance, but also the AU protocol on elections and good governance. Therefore, the recommendation from AU, from the SADC, from the Commonwealth, was that there should be an amendment to that clause. There must be a recourse. The other issue is issue of the minorities, albinism. It's a problem. You know, they were scared to go to the polls because they fear intimidation and harassment. And it cannot be that in this day and age, in the continent, people with albinism are being harassed, they are being killed, and they cannot exercise their right. And SADC in particular, which was impressive, was very firm and very hard on that, saying that the government and the stakeholders in that country must do something on issue of albinism so that next election they can be able to exercise their right to vote.
Now, the issue of security and, of course, the flare-up, possibility of a flare-up of violence tends to hang over Tanzania right now, but the country's always been largely peaceful and quite stable on the East African seaboard. Do you expect things to maybe spiral a little bit out of control in the days and weeks to come?
There will be pockets of violence here and there, but I think the security establishment will be able to manage the situation because, fortunately, as you have indicated, you know, Tanzanians are very peaceful, you know, and all the time they talk about peace, you know, peace before any interest. You heard the leader of the opposition calling on his members to be careful and to continue to maintain peace in that country. So I don't expect a serious civil war or serious tensions. I think the authorities will be able to manage the situation.
And final election results, you expect it all to be collated today and be made public?
Yes, today we'll definitely get a clearer picture in terms of numbers. Clearly, it looks like the ruling party is going to win the elections, but it will give us a clearer picture in terms of number of seats in parliament, the representation for all the parties. But tomorrow, it's the big day where indeed a winner will be declared, but also he will receive his participation certificate. Therefore, the real event is tomorrow. But tonight, I can promise we have the crew there. Our bureau in Kenya, they remain behind to continue with the story. So we'll get an update from Sarah Kimani and Johnson Barasa, who are still in Dar es Salaam.
Sophie, thank you very much for joining us. It is so nice to get a real view of somebody that's been on the ground in the country. It's our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, has just returned from Tanzania, of course, where final election results are now expected, as Sophie pointed out to us, maybe a little bit later today. Now, the country, Tanzania, is also facing a major cholera outbreak. This has nearly 5,000